Hello and welcome. So, I'm going to show how AYURSKAAN works. Right now on my screen, if you see, it is the home page where the data is there, and for purposes of anonymity, we have chosen the person as the company itself. You can see that I have put in some aspects already as to what is the nature of it, phone number, etc., but I have not put in the date of birth. And at this point, when I do not have the date of birth, I don't see any data out here, nothing beyond this: a physical tab, a psychological tab, and a doctor's feedback tab. Let me choose a date of birth of somebody in the Gen Z. Let's keep it for February 1st and let the year be 1998. So now we have the date of birth of the person, and let's save the data. For saving the data, we click on this. Now that the data is saved, we see lot many more tabs available: tabular and graphical analysis. Now in tabular analysis, as soon as it is available with the date of birth, what we see is table which shows different physiological systems of Ayurveda, and a distribution of Vata, Pitta, Kapha, Sattva, and Tamas across each of the systems individually. This data is as of expected for the individual because of his date of birth, his age. If we say observed, there is nothing because there is no information input by the patient. Also, if I look at the inference, there is no inference because there is no data input for the presenting or the observed data. We also have this in the modern system context, presenting as the following. So the expected Ayurvedic pattern for these systems is visible, but the rest is not. For the observed, it is blank. For the inferences, it is blank. Now, it is Gen Z, 1998 to 2025, a 27-year-old. Let us think that this person, whose weight was reported to be 62, actually is, let's keep that weight at 82. So for a height of 168, the weight being 82 is high, and that is because Gen Z generally have a sedentary lifestyle. His appearance for the body frame thus becomes large. His musculature becomes bulky, also fleshy. Muscle type is rather stout and ill-defined. Body weight is overweight. Neck, say, is medium length. Chest is expanded and rounded because of the weight. Abdomen is large and bulging. Hips and thighs are heavy and bulging. Let's just stop here for a while, stopping at his appearance. Once we stop here, we go to the tabular analysis. We see that this appearance is impacting his observed data to some extent. We have data popping in for his Masva srotas, for his Astiva srotas, that is muscles and bones, and partly for marrow and nervous systems. Something like this. In the modern context, it is also reflecting onto infertility and gynecology, It is reflecting into orthopedic largely. Now, if you go back and say, let's look at the skin type. These people who are not really moving out are usually presenting with a oily and glistening skin, and the touch is warm. Complexion is fair, usually yellowish red because of non-exposure to the external environment, and they are generally allergic to both dry weather, hot weather, and also humidity. So all the allergies are there. Texture is often thin and smooth. Sweating is profuse generally, or sometimes moderate and oily. Now, unlike other softwares, here in AYURSKAAN, you have the option to pick more than one options if it applies to you. The hair would be, say, soft and oily. Appearance may be wavy. The color, let it be blackish brown or black and lustrous. We'll choose. Then intensity is usually thick. Eyes are moderate. Eyeball size is medium. Color is grayish. Color of iris is usually anything that is genetic, so we can assume it to be, say, brownish black. Blinking is moderate, and vision is usually dreamy, sometimes curious. Teeth regular and closed. Gums soft and fleshy. Size of the teeth being moderate. Color of the teeth is usually with a yellow tinge because usually they are on coffee. Lips would be soft and moist, oily and glistening. Color would be reddish with yellowish tinge, or sometimes they are into smoking a lot, so could be bluish also. Cheeks would be rounded and plump. Feel on touch would be smooth. Joints would hardly be visible, so invisible joints. Mobility would be either free mobility or slightly restricted. Nails would be thin. Texture of nails is likely to be soft and rubbery. Color is likely to be pink. Formation should be well formed. Appetite, they usually have irregular, unpredictable appetite, which is also high, and quantity of intake is fairly good. Tolerance to fasting is very, very poor. Usually, digestion happens to be irregular and undefined, with gaseous or acidic belching. Thirst is high and persistent in these individuals. That is seen. Intensity of thirst is they need more volumes. Bowel movements are irregular again. Consistency of stool could be hard or soft with higher water content. Color would be yellowish or dark. Tendencies of disturbance would be often prone to gas problems and diarrhea. To laxatives, they have a very excited response. Physical strength would be poor. Stamina would be low. Endurance would be moderate. Post-exercise reflexes you can expect to be thirsty more. Sexual drive is likely to be spontaneous, and post reflex is also likely to be thirst. Fertility rate, they may have an average fertility rate. Voice is expected to be sweet generally, sometimes deep. The pace and intensity is usually rapid. It's not commanding at all. And clarity of speech could be something like slurred and feeble, not necessarily very penetrating, so even unclear. With that data, if I just go ahead now basis of the physical data, the table would look something like this for the observed. Psychometric data is still missing, but physical data is now largely visible across systems. Even in case of modern interpretations, the psychological part is missing, but the physical part is largely present. Now, coming to psychological data, they have usually 4 to 6 hours of sleep. It is superficial and disturbed. Behaviorally, they are many times careless and sometimes neat and simple. Mindset is always active, restless, aggressive, and temperament is impatient, timid. They are sometimes thankless. They are low on self-esteem. They try to speak cleverly. They act thoughtlessly quite a bit, and they are intolerant. They may be greedy. They may also be fearless, often with poor respect to others, and they are consistently adventurous and sometimes clever and cunning. Their lifestyle is impulsive spending, or money-wise a miser. Two extremes. Religious faiths are frequently changing. There's nothing of a permanence in them. Movement is fast and unsteady. Weather tolerance, they are usually intolerant to any kind of weather because mostly they are closed doors, and they have a liking for foods which are both sweet, sour and salty, and pungent, bitter and astringent. Hot and oily, hot and dry, cold and wet, all kinds of food. Decision making is usually unpredictable. Inquisitiveness, they are very highly inquisitive, and enthusiasm is very enthusiastic but vivacious at the same time. Grasping power is very superficial and fast. Memory is often short-lived. Anger is quick and sustained. Anxiety, they are prone to anxiety and depression, also prone to depression alone. Behavior and stress, they always sound agitated, confused, and their problem solving is often a wrong solution. Tolerance to pain is medium. Hobbies are, well, they could be creative or adventurous. The talking attitude is, they are often very talkative, and the consistency of being on the topic is very, very poor. They seem to be drifting between topics. They do have impressive speech. The pace and intensity of speech is fast and diffused. Impressibility is inconsistent and poor. Working attitude is, they are less initiative takers. Working style is quick and hurried. Working orientation is speed orientation. Job preferences are usually creative, aggressive, challenging, and sedentary, of course. Job preference is fluctuating. Job performance, consistently progressive, they may be, but we cannot really say, but yes, that is a choice. Among social relations, they have purposeful relations, and their maintenance is usually poor and need-based. Their circle size is many, whereas they have very limited good friends, and some have limited with some good friends, and the attachment is unpredictable of sorts. So this is the psychometric data for the same individual, and now when I save the data and look at the tables, so for observed, I see that all my columns are full. Continuing on the analysis, if we look at in the Gen Z population, the data that we gave to AYURSKAAN, it suggests that health challenges based on observed Prakruti in BM and BMI would be something like this, that the BMI would be somewhere like 29.1, which is overweight, and the key observations would suggest that Vata is elevated in the Mansva, Asthiva, Majjava, Shukrava, Artava, Manova, Srotas. Pitta is elevated in Udak, Anna, Rakta, Asthi, Shukra, Mutra and Artava. Kapha is elevated in Pran, Mans and Majja. Tamas is elevated in Pran, Mans, Majja and Sweth. Now, entropy calculations for each of the srotas and dosh are done thereby, and it suggests that pranava srotas would reflect a dosh entropy of 0.51 and of gun 0.5, which would lead to respiratory issues, anxiety, poor stress responses. Majjava would be at 1.21, 0.67, leading to bone marrow disorders, neurological imbalances. Asthiva would show 1.08 and 0.82, leading to joint inflammation, osteoporosis risk, etc. Shukrava similarly would be 0.65, 0.59. Reproductive and hormonal dysfunctions, low and low energy. Manova at 0.48 and 0.44. This would mean that there is a cumulative age impact of 0.591 across all srotas and for dosh and gun, and a biological age which is of significance here would reflect to be 71.5 years instead of the present age that comes from the derivation as 27 years. So the person is aging way faster. Now this can be reversed correctively by up to 40 to 60%, and the likelihood progression otherwise is that of insulin resistance, hypertension, mental health issues. These challenges can all be overcome. The entropy impact suggests that Majjava srotas and Asthiva srotas will show chronic inflammatory issues, chronic inflammatory diseases, and cumulative energy across biological age versus chronological age definitely suggests that the progression is way faster than assumed. We need to focus on reducing kapha, that is diet and exercises, and pitta management as stress management. The risks of sedentary lifestyle and poor dietary and consumption habits is what is highlighted in this evaluation. The purpose of sharing how this works or how we look at is to raise an awareness with respect to AYURSKAAN, that AYURSKAAN, while you can definitely get onto the data, how it looks, and it would have its own set of graphical representations, how we interpret this data and what it means to convey across is something which is unique, which is not available anywhere on the globe with any of the platforms. And what enriches this is that this data is not specific to a person. This data is not this data is specific to a person, not a group data, and customizable options of treatments can be drawn based on such data. That is a benefit that AYURSKAAN provides, unlike any other Prakruti evaluation softwares globally. Thank you.